Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Pro Trade Room Plus and the ADP report. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director at 10 Minute Trades. Please remember that all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. It is possible to lose money trading futures, so trade carefully, please. Okay, good morning, everyone. So let me try to clarify a couple of things. First of all, can you hear me okay? Give me a heads up that you can hear me. Okay, good. Frank, you should have gotten my email that you should be okay with those files. Okay. And Zia, so originally at the beginning of the week, Zia, there was going to be a trade room for Walgreens. There's two things that happen. Every day we send out an email in the morning with the trade room schedule. I always know the day before if I'm going to change the schedule unless there's an emergency. There's no way you can plan for emergencies, obviously. The Walgreen trade room was removed because last minute testing just showed it was not worth trading the earnings. There were not profitable opportunities over the last quarters that made it worth bothering with the setup. How do you know that? So, a couple of things that I always do. There will always be an email. So, it was this morning's email which I realize, it's an early morning trade room, so the email may not be that helpful because the email comes pretty early morning also. But the final word on the schedule is the trade room lobby. I always, 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 unless, look, I sometimes make mistakes, but I'm very good about updating the trade room lobby. I always update it. What's the trade room lobby? I want to make sure you understand what I mean when I say the trade room lobby. This is the trade room lobby. This is the final word always on the schedule. Okay? If you notice, there's no trade room for WBA because I took it off yesterday pretty early when I realized I was not going to have a trade room. So always check the trade room lobby every day. You don't need to check it more than once, honestly. It's not that common that we change the schedule, but that will be the final word. It's almost always the final word on the schedule. Okay? If I have time, I often will even update the WMM to the website. In other words, I can update the schedule, the printed schedule, to the website. And actually, I had time to do that yesterday. So this was updated also. Notice I took the trade room out right here. Okay? But you got to get used to it when you're new. It just takes a little bit of time to get used to everything. So, no reason to panic or worry. It all makes sense and it will all make sense. Just be patient, give everything a little bit of time, and before you know it, you'll know exactly what's going on and you'll be an expert. That's how it goes. That's the truth. Now, ADP. I There's no DMM for ADP because my boss does not care for the trade this morning. He doesn't like the weekly volume this week because of the holidays. And I'm not really sure that I'm in 100% agreement. I mean, that's the honest truth. We don't agree on everything, and no one's always right. He's not always right, and I'm not always right. And we recognize that. I think that volume is pretty decent. I don't think volume is a big issue. But we have to be truthful and look at what's been going on with ADP. It's been underperforming for the past year, and I was probably slow to take it off as a family money trade. That's the honest truth. ML, the reports are not automatically ML, it's in the trade room folder. It's not on YouTube. It's in the trade room folder. So ADP has been underperforming for the better part of a year. The better part of a year. And it's on a Thursday today. And it's on a Thursday. It's an abnormal event today. And here's the real problem. I don't have any problem taking trades. I mean, a lot of you don't know me, right? Because you're new. But the people that are here that know me, they know that I don't have a problem taking a trade. I mean, my approach tends to be a little bit on the conservative side, where I will pass on a trade, maybe not take as much risk as I should. That's probably one of my biggest issues, but that's because I'm trying to teach as much safety as possible. But I'm not afraid to take trades. I don't have fear. I've been doing this for many, many, many years. I don't suffer from psychological fear, but I am careful, sometimes too careful, because I'm concerned that you don't have bad outcomes on trades. ADP does not test well as a breakout right now for gold. It doesn't test well as anything for anything right now. That's the problem. The euro's not testing that well. The ES is not testing well as a trap trade. Gold is not testing well as a trap trade or as a breakout. It's truly underperforming, and it really hit us home last month because it had an awful whipsaw, and it turned out that that was the second awful whipsaw of the year. Now, and it was the second awful whipsaw of 8 months. Okay? So if you're going to trade this report, know that it isn't the ADP that it used to be. And I really think that ever since the ADP, Automated Data Processing, I hope that's the name of the corporation that does the payrolls, ever since they changed the way that they calculate the report, I think we can note that it really hasn't been the same since. It has definitely performed less reliably. And they changed the way they calculate this event. It's about a year ago. I think it was I think it was July, August of last year, of the year before. Okay, it wasn't July, August of this year, it was the year before. So it's more than a year ago. So I really, I usually do not come into a trade room not having a definitive, perfect plan. It's really almost unheard of that I would come into a trade room without a definitive, perfect plan. I absolutely don't know what to do with this report today. Um, Obviously, it's not a family money trade. There's no question about that. Um, the trap trades, they just don't trade well. They don't reverse at times. That's the problem. You understand that a trap trade, first of all, let me show you the lousy move this report made last month. And it probably would have been a perfect trap trade, but it was the only perfect trap trade, maybe of the last 6 months. And I'll explain why the trap trade is a problem. Last month, it dropped about 24 ticks, filled us, and did a whipsaw. It's the worst possible event you can have on a breakout trade. It just didn't trade well. Now, bonds happen to do much better, but overall, bonds haven't been trading great on ADP either. So that's the reality. On the winners, when we've had winners, we've had to really squeeze out our profits. In other words, there's been good movement, lots and lots of slippage on these reports. This was August. Okay, this is a video inside a video. So this was August. August pops up a little bit, does not follow through. I shrunk my targets because I was concerned that we didn't get our usual pop, and we got out for a small profit. Okay, but had to work very hard just to get like a $60 profit. Then, hang on, there were other things going on in August. Then in November, oh, I don't have November. Here's November. Okay. Then in November, it almost looks like August, where it pops up, doesn't quite follow through. You could see you had virtually very poor opportunity for profit. Then it did a very weird burst up and hit our shrunken target. So it was a profit, but notice very weird move. Very weird move. Not a normal kind of move. That's another of the issues. We're not getting just a normal good burst, proper behavior out of this event. But I was able to get a profit. Okay, so it's not like I got killed, but December I got killed, and 8 months prior we had a very bad whipsaw. We were trading the ES, but many of the instruments did a very bad whipsaw. I'm really just of a mind to really not trade the report. I'm the gold setup just hasn't been working well. The trap trade hasn't been reversing. How do I know the trap hasn't been reversing? So we look at our spike sheet. Remember, we track what's the movement on this report for the past years, if we can. I've got data going back more than a year and a half. And last month there was it was a perfect trap trade because it was a whipsaw. Okay, whipsaws are really good for trap trades. But that was the only one, sorry, that was the only one in quite a while. In November, now I shouldn't say only one in a while. The funny thing is when you look at the spike sheet, it almost looks like the trap is decent. But I tested November 1st, and it really took a long time to reverse. I tested October. October, the problem was it moved 60 ticks outside of a possible zone of safety. Same thing in July. So we have inconsistency, 77 ticks. You have 25 in December, 35 in November. Then all of a sudden you have 60 in October. It's hard to have a good setup that lends itself to good profits when the spikes vary so much. And we've got two significant no reversals in July and in May. Now, I realize July and May are far away. You could trade on the last four, and the last four are, with testing, they're mediocre at best for the trap trade. That's the truth. Mediocre at best for the trap trade. When we look at the euro, and I'm really going on a lot of testing. When I say mediocre, sometimes you can look at numbers. The numbers don't reflect the testing because sometimes you don't see in the numbers how long it took to get the 28 tick reversal or the 37 tick reversal. And it doesn't always take into play that you had to modify your setup so that your average price was not that great on your entry. Otherwise, you might have gotten stopped out because your orders had to be smaller. So you got a better average price. Okay. The point is, there's a tremendous extra amount of risk on this trade today because you've got Thursday, which is not the normal day for the report. You've got a trade that's not performing well. Um, and that's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. If I were going to trade it, I might, believe it or not. And remember, we don't have a DMM because my boss feels that we should take this off this week. So there's no DMM. He believes that the 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 qualities that go into a perfect trade are not present today. Not a normal week. He just feels that his main concept is it's not a normal trading week. My thought is it's a big enough report that it trumps those problems. Volume on gold is pretty good right now. But I'm being honest about the extra risk on this report and the fact that the breakout setup has not been working well. So I recommend, I hate to say it, I recommend we probably should take the report off today. Originally, I was going to trade it. I was just going to do a gung ho, trade it, do everything normal. Because here's the other thing. Last month, there was a whipsaw. It's so rare to get two whipsaws in a row. It's almost unheard of. It's almost unheard of. Hey, but don't, it happens. It could happen. It's unheard of, but it could happen. But I'm going to err on the side of caution today. I'm going to trade natural gas. That's my plan today. And I'll probably trade micros on unemployment. And I'm going to be just extremely careful because I want to be honest. I don't like the testing on the report. I'm going to set up a trade, a breakout on gold to watch it. I'm worried. I'm going to be very upset if it's a perfect trade. But I think I'm doing the right thing for everybody in the room. Okay? And that's the reality. So for now, let's concentrate on the trade right now, and we'll talk about recordings after the trade. So what we got going initially is a breakout, and the breakout's going to be a bracket of 12. It's going to trigger at 8:14:59. Target's very small because if a trap trade is in our target, right? If the trap trade's in the target, then there's a possible of a reversal on this trade. So I'm just looking for targets of 7.15, 7 and 15 with a stop of 15. And if my first target gets hit, we're going to do a break even -3. Okay. Break even -3. I'm going to make sure that my account warnings are off. And like I said, I'm just concerned about what's going on with this report right now. That it has been honestly one of my all-time favorite reports. It absolutely breaks my heart, no joke, to take a break. But again, it's on a Thursday. It's been underperforming since the trade has been changed over a year ago, and we need to just take a breather and make sure that we have a good handle on what's the best way to trade it. So I've tested my brackets. Now on the ES, we have a trap trade test. Okay. And again, there's no DMM because my boss felt this was not a report that should be traded this week because market conditions are not perfect. Okay. The trap trade ES test and the setup is pretty tight. It's tiers of 10 and 15 with a stop of 12. It's pretty tight because the report doesn't move that much potentially on the ES. 10 and 15, stop is 12. Now, the time of the event is 8:15 and the preparation seconds are 5. I'm testing a newer version of the trap trade. So I enter my time differently. I now enter my time 5 seconds before the event, 8:14:55. You have a command that says preparation seconds, and the number you put in there is 5, and what that means is your orders go on the chart 5 seconds before the news is released. There's not a lot to enter or do with the trap trade. I've got position size 1 is a 1. Position size 2 is a 1. That means I have one contract for each tier. My stop is at 12. My first tier or my first bracket is 10. My second bracket or tier is 15 ticks. My entry time is 8:14:55. Remember, if you have margin issues, a trap trade is 4 times the margin because each tier counts as an order. And that's not because there's something wrong with our software. That's true of any software that brackets price. Each bracket is one set of margin. Okay. I'm also setting up a micro gold, if I can here, a micro gold reversal trade. All you need for a reversal trade, you choose the trade type reversal trade. All you need is a position, a target. So I got one position, a target of 30, and a stop of 25, let's say. Make sure that your account warnings are turned off, okay? Account warnings enabled goes unchecked. Always label your reversal trade. You go down towards the bottom under setup, label, REV, REV. When you label something, right, after you're done labeling it, and make sure your account is on sim or live, depending what you're trading, you apply it and okay it. After you apply and okay your trade, it shows up on the trade panel. When you label your trade, under strategy, you see the name of the trade. So if you have to cancel a trade, I have multiple trades set up. I have 3 setups, 3 different charts. What if I need to cancel one? If they're not labeled properly, I won't see them. Okay? I won't know which one to cancel. They'll all have the same name. This way, I know that my reversal trade is right here. I can easily cancel it by unchecking the enabled box. When you enable a reversal trade, you get your buttons because it's a manual entry. It's not automated like our other trades. We're going to check our time sync by going to the website time is. Okay? Time is. My time is in sync. Now, Tony, the video is in the Room Drive folder. It's in the Room Drive folder on the taskbar of the trade room. Okay, so folks, we have three setups. Three setups. We've got the breakout trade on gold on the left chart. Okay. We've got the ES trap trade. That will probably require the most management. All right. That will require the most management. The GC breakout, I've got small targets and target one stop move automatically goes to break even -3. Break even -3. That way, if it hits my first target, then the stop will move to break even -3. Our ES is going to be a trap, and I'm going to be very frustrated when all the setups make money because I'm being extremely careful because we've been dealing with an underperformance issue on this event. And honestly, the testing has not shown a clear methodology for the trade right now. That's a problem. That's a problem. And the winners over the past 6 months have struggled to be solid, good sized profits, whereas the losers have been bigger than the winners. You put all of those elements together, and you can't feel bad about taking the trade off. You just don't take the risk. There's plenty of trades. Last night, if you had traded the Kaishan Services report, which is a new report for us to look at, not a new report, it's been around forever, but all of a sudden it's starting to move and become tradable. Okay? And I'll show you what happened last night, and I'll show you why our software can be so important. It can save a winner and prevent a loser just by making the right choices in the software. So remind me to show you last night's Kaishan before we leave. So now look, we're just being patient. This report, they're expecting 115,000 jobs. The funny thing about jobs reports right now with the Fed, a year ago before, or 2 years ago before the Fed was raising rates like they're doing now, it was very simple in terms of what we would expect the reaction of the market to be from the news. If they were expecting 115,000 and they got 130, that would be considered good news because the market had more jobs rather than less that were created, more payrolls, and gold would have responded accordingly, most probably gone down. Nowadays, what happens is the Fed's looking at that and they're saying, oh, no good, too many jobs, the market's still overheating, inflation's still too high. You follow me, folks? So the reactions are not always what we expect. It doesn't necessarily affect the quality of the reaction, and that's what we care about. We care about the quality of the reaction. We don't really care which direction the reaction goes. We don't really care what the news is. We care about the quality of the reaction. If it's a breakout, we want a good move in one direction. If it's a trap, we want a reversal after it moves in one direction and not too big of a move in one direction. There's our trap orders. Okay. The news is out. Now, okay, I want to make something clear. I believe if you traded gold, it could have been a big problem. Now, there's probably people out there that may have traded live. I'm watching the reversal. The trap trade, I have to say that was my gut reaction as the first way to trade it. And also the gold trap trade. Chantal, if you could tell me what the size of that spike was on gold. But don't tell me yet. I would have used, let me just tell you what I would have used on my trap. I would have used a, hang on. I would have used a tier of 24. My first order would have been about 24 ticks. 24 ticks. Now you could see that the ES filled one order. I would now cancel my outer tier because it's reversing. Cancel my outer tier, move my stop to safety all the way up, expand my target because we have a trap trade that's working great. Okay. A trap trade that's working great. Okay, it reversed on us. I moved my stop a little too aggressively. I didn't have to be quite that aggressive. I could have taken my time, but we'll watch the video. We'll talk about what happened. It was a huge offset, a huge offset. Price burst down, but it looked to be a very low liquidity burst. Because when we watch the video, you'll notice it goes through my orders on SIM. Now, keep this in mind. It went through my orders on SIM and didn't fill them. It's very rare to not get orders filled in SIM. Usually, when they don't get filled in SIM, they're not going to get filled in real life because the tendency is to get the SIM fill and not the live fill because SIM doesn't care about liquidity. All right. It's just the reality of what happens on SIM trades. Now, I was too aggressive on my stop with the ES because I definitely could have gotten more profit if I just left my stop further away. Now, maybe in real life I might have been less aggressive. You never know. The GC breakout, I'm turning it off. The reversal trade, we're kind of in the middle of levels now. Okay. Maybe the PP is an area of magnetism. In other words, gold went down. Maybe it's going to head to the PP. I'm just looking to see. Now, remember, this was an extra chart. I may not have yet added everything to this chart that I need to. Yeah, I don't see my VWAP on our new chart here. This is a new method for us that we're going to add this third chart in. With the VWAP, it's an order flow VWAP if you're a lifetime Ninja Trader user. If you're a lifetime Ninja Trader user, you can go to order flow VWAP, enter it so it gets configured, okay, into your indicators. You only need one of them. And then standard deviation bands get set to none. And then you can change also the plot, the thickness of the line, the width. Make it a 2 so you see the VWAP more clearly on the chart. You can see gold happens to be at the VWAP. And it is similar on regular gold as well. It's a very good support and resistance level that a lot of people look at on the charts. Okay, let me just see. So the gold wick was 44 ticks. The ES was 12. I would have been filled on my ES. My order was 10. And I would have been safe on the gold trap trade. So the gold trap trade would definitely have been the way to trade. Now, we got to get cracking. There's an 8:30 report. 8:30 report. Again, no DMM on this 8:30 report. Same reason. Now, that was not a safe gold breakout. We'll look at the video after unemployment. Okay, we will look at the video after unemployment. We're not going to rush. We're not going to rush out because there's no point in rushing. All right. So unemployment, and then we'll go through everybody's questions or problems. Now, Adam, just so you know, the issue with prop accounts is you're not dealing with a cache data feed. And if it's a fast order, sometimes you just will not get proper fills. It's the nature of the prop account data feeds. Which company do you use? Okay, so now Top Step does allow news trading, but honestly, I don't know how they possibly could deal with everything, all of the issues that can come up with news trading, but they do allow it. So, but sometimes it is going to just honestly, you're just going to have situations where you don't get a normal fill, and there's nothing you can do about it. Let me see if I have a quick DMM here. If we can pull one up or not. So we've made some changes pretty recent to the Thursday's unemployment. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'm not going to rush into a trade now. There's only like 5 minutes. I'll trade natural gas. That was my plan today. Let's set up a quick NQ unemployment trade. It's trading by itself. We're going to trigger this trade at 8:29. 8:29:59. That's our trigger time. It's an 8:30 event. We're going to bracket 25 ticks. I've got targets of 12 ticks. Position 1 is a 1, position 2 is a 1. I'm looking for 12 ticks and 25 ticks of target. I'm willing to risk, I think 35 is probably a bigger stop than needed, but we'll use it. Let's go to 30 on the stop for today. Target 1 stop move. If it hits our first target, I'm going to move the stop to break even -2. So 2 ticks below our entry. My account warnings are off. The only other thing I'm going to do is label the trade NQ so I know this is my NQ breakout. Going to check the width of our brackets. Okay, the width of our brackets. All right. Enable the trade to check the brackets. They could be a little bit wider. That's all I need to know. We also have a quick gold setup, so I'm just going to put my time back to 8:29:59. We do have a quick gold setup on this event. Now look, we know because we've been doing this forever, Thursday unemployment is tremendous inconsistency because it does not normally trade by itself like it's doing today. Most of the time when we trade Thursdays at 8:30, we're trading GDP or retail or something else with unemployment, Philly Fed. So it's pretty rare that we trade it alone like we're doing today. But it seems like the last few times that we've traded it alone, it's been looking decent. It's been looking like the setup is not bad. Our gold setup is a bracket of 8, trigger at 829.59. We just have targets of 8. I'm just going to use 8 and 15, not going to be greedy. I'm also going to use a stop of 15, not 20. Again, I'm not live on this, folks. Rushing into it, not doing any analysis before the trade. I generally don't do that. I'm going to label it gold. It was also not necessarily on my plan. There is no DMM. You know, it fits the ADP. Now, what's interesting about ADP, we'll analyze ADP when we're done with this. We'll analyze everything that we did. So keep your questions. Apex will not pay for news. They do not allow news. They've said it on their website. They seem to have removed it from their website, but they absolutely will not pay for news trading. That's what they've told us in all the times that we've reached out to them. 829.59. Top Step, we have emails that say they will absolutely pay for news. Bracket of 8, targets of 8 and 15 with a stop of 15. We'll test our brackets. What good does this do us? So this helps us when unemployment trades by itself. This tells us if unemployment is worth trading when it trades by itself. That's why we do this. That's why we spend the time, okay? It's worth it to spend the time. Now, sometimes we do it publicly in the room all together so everyone can learn how to do it on their own. And sometimes I just do this by myself. This is what I'm doing all day long by myself on many events that don't even show up on our schedule. Setting up that quick reversal on gold, one position, 20 tick target on micro gold, 20 tick target stop of 20-ish, 25 on micro gold, just for the purpose of looking for continuation and or change of direction trades after the news. Using the reversal setup lets you trade discretionary after the news if you so choose. All you need is a position, 1, and a target, 1, 20 ticks, and a stop to enable a reversal trade. Just turn off your account warnings, label it, and we'll save a template for it. I'm not going to do it now. We're too close to the trade. Apply it, okay it. When you enable the reversal trade, you get your buttons. We're ready to go. All right. We have a high and a low of the day, but we're more interested what's going to happen on the breakout. Okay. So, Rich, think about what Apex is saying. Apex says you can trade news and eval, but when you sign the agreement for a PA account, no news. So Apex is basically saying to you, we just want your money because we're not going to let you trade the way you want to trade, but we'll happily take your money if you want to trade, but we're not going to pay you. Does it make any sense? They should either let you trade news or not let you trade news. But I will say this. One great thing of prop accounts is very low cost to learn how to trade. So Apex is the least expensive prop account if you want to learn how to trade. They have the best sales. They have the best sales. But they're not going to pay you for news. But you could use Apex to learn to trade. Would I? I would use the company that I was hoping to get paid from if I became a funded, successful trader. I would not waste my time trading with a company that ultimately isn't going to pay me for the way I'm learning to trade. So I would go with Top Step or Buell Knox. What's the third company? There's a third that lets you trade news, and The name escapes me. What's the three more other popular ones? Buell Knox, Top Step. Here comes the news. Two brackets we're going to get. There's our brackets. Okay, not a good move necessarily out of the NQ. Definitely not a good move out of gold. Lilu is the one I was thinking of. Lilu. They claim they will let you trade news. But I can never find a sale on Lilu. Never. I can't ever find a sale. Now, what's interesting on the jobless numbers, the job numbers are light. And Rick Santelli says you got to go back to October to get numbers this light. I think the Fed likes that. Okay, the Fed wants a calmer job market. That's what the Fed wants. Okay. Now, it was quite close. It was pretty darn close to what they were expecting, though. I guess 14,000. I guess you could say it's a pretty big offset. It's a pretty big offset. The ADP was a huge offset, folks. Going back to ADP for a second, that was a huge difference in what was expected versus what actually happened. Under normal conditions, if the report were trading great, it would have been a perfect breakout. But what we're seeing about ADP is it has become a trap trade. We've learned that. I think that we've solidified that knowledge today. And I think that we are going to be able to, going forward, trade ADP as a trap trade starting next month. That's the good thing that I think came out of today. All right. Now, when you look at the kind of reactions that we had from gold and the NQ on the jobless reports, it truly looks like a holiday week. The NQ just had a poor move. It went down initially and then burst up, not creating a follow through. Gold, it looks like what happened was our bracket was big enough to contain anything that happened. And the fill wound up being on the right side of the market. And it looked like gold, if you just stayed in, was a viable trade. Okay. We'll look at the video. Let's just give it a minute or two, see if it hits the target. If you're tired and you want to exit your trade, don't hit the close button. Move your target into the price. Move your target into the price because that gives you the best possible fill. When you hit the close button, you get one of the worst fills, okay? You get one of the worst fills when you hit the close button. Don't hit the close button, okay? All right, let me go through questions and then we'll analyze the events and we'll download the data and I'll teach everybody how to do a replay so that you can test trades. The most important thing that we're going to learn here is how to test trades. I can't stress that. It's the most important thing that you're going to learn to do. So we don't need our setups anymore, do we? Let me save the templates. So we have a setup, right? Our setup stays. If you turn it off and leave it on the control panel, it's still there. So our NQ setup is still here, exactly the way that we traded the 830 unemployment. You can save that by going to template, save, and now I can just call it unemployment, NQ, that's what I traded, and date it today. Now, when I come back next week, I can see exactly how I traded the NQ because I can load the template in. And I can do the exact same thing with gold. Okay? Right click the chart, go to strategies, or this is my ES, I'm sorry, my ES setup. Nope, you know what? We traded gold. So, hey, look, folks, look, I made a mistake. We traded the ES with our gold setup. So let's keep that in mind. What happened here? We traded NQ, I'm sorry, we traded unemployment. I was thinking gold. And again, that's why I don't like to rush into a trade. We had an 8:15 trade, then we had an 8:30 trade. I was setting things up, I was talking, and I missed that I was on an ES chart, not gold. What's interesting though is the ES, it had a decent trade. So what I'm going to do is save that template, okay? Just change the label. It was ES, not gold. Save this template and make a note that maybe we'll look at the ES again for unemployment with this setup. It actually seemed to work. So sometimes, I can't tell you a funny thing that sometimes happens. Sometimes a mistake can lead to the greatest trade setup known to man. I have seen that happen, no joke. So we have an ES setup that worked. It wasn't gold. The chart was left on ES. And then just there was really no concentration on that particular event where we looked for the reversal. We were talking too much, didn't really look for it. Going to remove my orders, just right click and remove. Then you can see your fills, okay? You can see your fills. When you right click your chart and click on data series, if you scroll all the way down, there's an option. It says plot executions. When it's on text and marker, you'll see your orders on the chart. Sometimes you have to remove the strategy from the control center before you'll be able to see the orders, but it's very convenient. Right click the chart, data series, bottom input, plot executions. You can see your text and markers. That means you can see your orders, which can be very handy, obviously, if you are analyzing your trades. Okay? It's very, very helpful. I'm going to reset my SIM account, right? Right now it's showing that we made $280 on all these trades this morning. Notice that it doesn't show money on the SIM on the third chart. That's because when we set up this chart, if you right click a blank area on the chart trader and go to properties, show realized P&L, profit and loss when flat, is not checked. If I check it and apply it, now you can see the money. Okay? If you right click the blank space on the chart trader again, what do you want that to show as? It could show as currency, it could show as points, it could show as different units of measure, a percentage, ticks. I like to show it as currency like it's set now. P&L display unit, profit and loss display unit. I like to show it as currency. Okay? And then when any changes that I make, I just make sure that my workspace is saved so that I don't have to do that all over and over and over again. I was going to reset my SIM account to 0 because a lot of times you'll want to take a trade just as if you're starting fresh in the morning, no trades, so you want your set to be $0. So you go to the account tab. See how on the control panel there's tabs, position, execution, strategies. You have to be on strategies when we're entering trades in so you could see the trade. But put yourself on account. You can see your SIM account, you can see your live account, you can see your cash, your trades for the day, whether you made money or lost money. But you can reset a SIM account, not a live account, but you can reset a SIM account to 0. So you can start fresh every practice trade. Highlight the SIM account, right click it, edit the account, click reset. Clear history is the default and it will be checked. And you just type yes, okay. Now go back to strategies. Notice that my money is 0. It resets the SIM account. Now I will make this video available, folks, because we're covering a lot of stuff. I'm not stopping the video yet. There's a lot of good stuff in this video. I want to go through people's questions, and then we're going to test the trap so it's in the video, and then we'll analyze what happened here. So let me go through your questions. There's not a lot. If you have a question, ask me now, please. The last thing I see is Tony was asking about the video. We explained now. Does everybody understand there are useful files in the room drive? Does everybody understand that? This is the room drive. Look on your taskbar. There is a taskbar to the trade room, the room drive. That's where we put important files for you for free. Okay? Let me just go through. I don't think there's any other questions. I don't see any. Okay. Anybody have any other questions before we go into downloading data? And I'll show you the trap trade and why ADP was a trap trade on gold. Okay. So let me do something to help you when you watch this video. All right. It will really help. And even though I've done this a million times, it's always great when it's current. So give me 1 second to do this for you. It won't take me long. Okay, welcome everyone to the Pro Trade Room Plus and an ADP replay lesson. Okay, first step to doing a replay is you want to go to Tools, go to Historical Data, click on Historical Data, and it will open a dialog, a chart. You're going to click Get Market Replay Data. Now for today, we want the data from today. We want to download gold because I want to show you a gold trade with the trap trade setup. So today is the 4th. Put the date on the 4th, and we're going to download today's gold instrument that we traded. It was GC 0224. Okay. Click download. And you notice real quick, it shows loading data. The download's over. I can close this dialog. If an instrument, for whatever reason, that's why I'm recording this, if for any reason your instruments are not available, you can go to Tools, you can go to Instrument Lists, click on Futures, so your instrument goes into the same folder, and you could add an instrument. If you need to add gold, GC, let's add in the future 0624, click enter, and I've now added an instrument that wasn't in my instrument list. Okay, so we've downloaded the gold data. Now we want to run the replay. In order to run a replay, you have to change your connection. We're live, right? We're connected to our live data. We're going to go to connection, disconnect our live data, go back to connection, and connect playback. Go to continue, okay? And now we're going to get a little control panel that shows up over here. It's our playback control panel. And I'm only going to be dealing with one chart for the replay. We're just going to be dealing with one chart, all right? So we're going to put our chart on gold because that's what we're interested in replaying the trade, GC0224, right? So now the chart is on GC0224. But we have to tell our tape recorder, which recorded the market, we have to tell our tape recorder to be on the correct day and the right time. But even before we do that, if we want to test the trap trade, we have to create the trap trade so that we can test it. So let's do that first. We're going to go right-click the chart, go to Strategies, go to Trap Trade, and we're going to create our gold trap trade. Now, the setup that I was going to use on gold, give me a second because it was going to be 24. Let me look at our spike sheet for 1 second. I was going to use 24 and 38, okay? 24 and 38 as my tiers. So I'm setting up a trap trade. Position size 1 is a 1. That means one order, one contract. Position size 2 is a 1. Second tier, one contract. The stop, 20, okay? At least 20 on my stop. My tier 1 was going to be 24 ticks. My tier 2 is going to be 38 ticks. The time of the event for everybody out there is going to be 8:15 until the new version of the trap trade. It's going to be 8:15. I have a new version of this trap trade, so we do the time of the event slightly differently. But for you, you're going to do time of event, 8:15, preparation seconds, 5. Okay? Just remember that. I'm doing it slightly differently, 8:14:55. It's just the exact time of the trade. I'm going to label GC trap. It's not necessary because we're doing a playback or replay. Make sure your account warnings are not enabled, and I'll go over the setup one more. So we chose the trap trade. Position size 1 is a 1. Position size 2 is a 1. That just means one contract for each order, each tier. My stop is 20. My tier 1 is 24 ticks. My tier 2 is 38 ticks. My time of event for you, it's going to be 8:15 with a preparation seconds of 5. And label the trade trap GC for gold. Apply it and OK it and enable it. And we now have a trap trade ready to go once we set up our replay, our playback controls, right? So we downloaded the gold data. We're now ready to put the controls on playback. It's like a recorder. In the blank area here, above the blank area here, we have these two boxes. Both boxes should have today's date. It's going to be 1/04/24. Okay. Now you can just click up with the up arrow to change the year. 1/4/24. In the blank space, right click your mouse. Make sure you're on playback from selected, which is the default. You should be. And then I'm going to go to the correct time. You'll see that the date is the date we're playing back. And we want to put our time a little bit before the news, right? So the news was 8:15. So we're going to put our time, let's say 8:14 and 45 seconds, 15 seconds before the event news was released, we'll put our time. So the software has a few seconds to calculate, get ready for the trade. And I'm going to OK it. Now, There is a bug in Ninja. Sometimes when I press play to start everything going, it resets the time to 12 a.m. and I have to redo the time. Watch. It didn't do it. Okay, so beautiful. So we're ready to go. I just stopped for a second. But wait, there's a problem. I don't see the candles. Where's the candles? Just click your F. Sometimes they just don't show up, right? And sometimes, you have to adjust your charts. You don't want your chart like that for trading. You can't trade like that. Click the F, okay, and the price will stay on the chart. I like to adjust my charts for the trade, just like I do in the room, right? Now, if I press play, we're going to get a replay of this trap trade in 10, 12 seconds. Watch. Our trade's enabled. The trap trade is very reliable to test because it's an opposite direction trade. Look at how beautiful. This was a perfect trap trade. I'd be moving my stop into big profit right now. 300 bucks. That would have been an easy $300 trap trade. Then I turn it off. I'm done. I tested that exact trade on the ES. Who's got a question? Now, I have recorded all this, so don't worry that I went a little fast. I'm going to put this video in the trade room folder, okay? So you can download it. This video will go in the trade room folder so you can download it. Everything I said, I know sometimes I go fast. You'll have it on video, okay? That's how you do a playback. All I did was playback a setup. The breakout was not a good breakout. Look at the behavior. If you want to watch it again, in the blank area, right click, go to, just put the time earlier than the trade again, 8:14:53 if you want, right? Press play. If you want to watch the trade again, make sure the trade is enabled. Okay? Now, let me just tell you one thing that I didn't tell you before. If you're connected to playback, you're not allowed to download playback data. I don't know why, it's just the way it is. So if ever you're trying to download data and you can't figure out why you can't download data, check your connection. You might have connected to playback before you downloaded the data. So download the data first, then disconnect your live and connect your playback connection. Okay? So we set our time to before the trade again. We just want to watch the market. You don't have to test the trap trade again. You can, but you could just watch markets. See if you can figure out what might be a good setup for the way a market is moving at a certain time. This happens to be the kind of movement you want to see on a trap because it filled both orders. It gives you a profit. You could practice being less aggressive with your stop. Maybe being less aggressive would give you more profit. You can combine your orders. If you don't see all the buttons at the top of the chart, when you trade a trap trade, make sure your chart is wide enough so you see up to the combine button. You have a break even button, which moves the stop to break even. You have a close button, which closes the trade. You have an adjust button, which we're not going to talk about. We don't use it right now. And we have cancel the outer tier. If in this trade only one of the orders would have been filled, if we wanted to move our stop to safety, an unfilled order would be in the way. We might want to cancel that order without disrupting the elements of the trade so we could then move our stop to safety. Now, it's interesting to note that being less aggressive with the stop on this particular trade today would have meant less profit. And that is one of the hardest things to deal with is how do you deal with stop management? There's no perfect answer that says every stop is handled the same way. It's just not the way things are. Okay? Everybody manages their stops differently. It's just the nature of trading. Some folks are more aggressive with their stops, some are less aggressive. There's no hard and fast rule what you should do with your stop. Some people believe never move the stop. If you do that, sometimes you'll turn a winner into a loser. Sometimes you'll turn a small winner into a big one. So that's the crazy thing about trading. There's many, many choices to do the same thing. Okay? Let's analyze the actual trades this morning. And this, unfortunately, is not recorded because I can't. Well, hold on. I could theoretically save